The night over Heartland feels too quiet. Horses shift in their stalls like they sense a storm that has not shown its face yet. Ty stands by the barn door with his hands cold and his heart louder than the crickets. He has kept a heavy truth inside for too long, and every minute he waits puts the people he loves in danger. Tonight, he will tell Caleb. Tonight, the calm breaks. Ty stared at the dark fields and tried to breathe slow, but his chest would not listen. The yard lights painted long lines across the gravel, and the wind carried the warm smell of hay, yet none of it felt safe. He had seen enough to know Nathan was not just a smooth talker with a nice smile. Nathan was a plan in motion. He had watched Nathan visit the office when Jack was out, had watched him click through files like he owned the place, had seen that quick look of victory when he found the land maps. Ty had told himself there had to be a good reason, that maybe Nathan was helping Lou with the budget or planning a surprise fix for the south pasture fence. But the facts did not fit. The times did not fit. The meetings in town that Amy never heard about did not fit. The phone call he caught outside the feed store did not fit either. Nathan spoke in a soft voice, but the words were sharp. He said something about getting the old easement signed before anyone asked questions, and about pushing a survey through fast. He said Heartland would not even realize the change until it was done. Ty had walked away then, fists tight, because if he stayed, he would have stepped around the corner and ended the lie in one punch. He could not do that. Not here, not with the family's name on every wall and every stall. He had to think first. He had to be smarter than his fear, smarter than his anger. But thinking meant time, and time was the one thing he did not have. Amy was inside reading to Lindy. Jack had turned in early after a long day with Spartan. If Ty was wrong, he would light a fire for nothing and burn trust he could not replace. If he was right, and he stayed quiet, he would watch Heartland lose more than land. He would lose the feeling that had kept them all together through storms, in winters and loss. Ty rubbed his thumb along the edge of his phone and stared at Caleb's name. Caleb would listen. Caleb would not judge him for waiting. He would ask questions the way a good friend does, and then he would move. That is what Ty needed now. He needed a second set of eyes and a strong back beside him when the truth came out. Put the phone away and chose a simpler path. He would find Caleb face to face. No text that could be seen. No call that could be heard by the wrong person. He pushed off the barn door and started toward the paddock where he knew Caleb would be working late with the roping horse. The cold bit at his knuckles. Every step felt like a choice that could not be undone. Somewhere out in the dark, a gate clicked. Ty turned his head and listened. The sound faded. The yard went still again. He told himself the quiet was only quiet, that it did not mean someone was watching, that it did not mean a plan was already a step ahead. He did not believe it, but he walked anyway, because love is not only soft words and warm hands. Sometimes love is facing what you do not want to see, doing it before the sun comes up. The clang of metal echoed across the yard as Caleb tightened the cinch strap on his roping horse. He hummed low under his breath, the kind of half-song a man sings when the night feels long but steady. The horse flicked its ears, calm in his care, and for a moment it looked like nothing in the world could crack the peace. Then Caleb glanced up and saw Ty walking out of the shadows. There was a heaviness in Ty's steps. It's not the kind that comes from chores or training, but the kind that bends the shoulders and narrows the eyes. Caleb had seen that walk before. He had seen it the day Ty thought he might lose Amy, the day he returned from his trip up north with a silence thicker than snow. Caleb leaned against the stall rail, arms crossed, watching his friend close the distance. "You've got that look?" he said quietly, his voice steady, but his gaze sharp. "The one that says trouble's following you around like a stray dog?" Ty stopped a few feet away, his boots grinding in the dirt, tried to answer, but the words tangled before they left his mouth. Caleb gave a half smile, not mocking, but meant to break the tension. "Don't tell me it's about your roping technique again. I keep saying it's not your style." Ty didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. And in that silence, Caleb felt the calm of the night peel back. His smile faded. His arms dropped to his sides. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "All right, it's not a joke then. What is it? What's going on?" The horse shifted restlessly, as if it could taste the weight between the two men. Ty glanced at the animal, then back at Caleb, and for a second, Caleb thought he saw fear in his friend's eyes, a rare thing, a dangerous thing. He reached out and touched Ty's shoulder, firm but steady. "Hey, you can tell me. Whatever it is, I'm not letting you carry it alone." What Ty swallowed hard. His throat felt dry, and the night air felt thinner than it should. He had come here ready to speak, but now that the moment had arrived, the truth lodged heavy inside his chest. Still, Caleb's eyes held no doubt, only trust. And it was that trust, more than anything else, that pushed Ty to finally open the door he had been holding shut. The silence stretched, then Ty's voice broke through, low and rough. "It's Nathan," he said, his words like gravel scraping. "He's not who he says he is." Caleb froze. The name cut the air in two, and, in that instant, the steady beat of the night was gone. The roping horse snorted, restless again, and Caleb's jaw tightened. He did not speak yet. Ty could feel the storm building behind his friend's calm face. Caleb's silence stretched like a rope pulled tight, ready to snap. The yard lights buzzed faintly, and the roping horse stomped a hoof, as if echoing. The weight of the moment. Ty stood there, his hands curled into fists at his sides, fighting to find the right words. He knew once they were spoken, there would be no taking them back. Finally, Ty stepped closer, his voice low, but edged with urgency. "Nathan isn't just hanging around Heartland to help Caleb. He's after something. I've been watching him. He's been sneaking into the office, checking maps and papers. He made calls when he thought no one was near. He's trying to move on the land, our land. He wants a piece of Heartland, and he's going about it in ways that aren't clean." Caleb's brow furrowed. He shook his head, disbelief tugging at his features. "You're saying Nathan Jack's new friend? The guy who shows up with coffee and grins like he belongs here? You're saying he's setting us up?" Ty nodded slowly, the knot in his chest easing only because the truth was finally leaving his mouth. "I heard him talking, Caleb. He's pushing for a survey. Fast. Oust. He said once it's signed, nobody here will realize what's happened until it's too late. He's tricking Jack, working behind Amy and Lou's backs. He wants control, not to help." For a moment, Caleb just stared, the words sinking deep. His jaw flexed, and he let out a long breath. "That's low, real low. And Jack's trusting him like family." Ty's voice cracked with the frustration he had been carrying for days. "That's why I can't keep this quiet. If Jack signs something without knowing, if Amy gets dragged into this, everything we've built here could be torn apart. Couldn't let that happen." Caleb's hands clenched at his sides, and his calm face hardened into something sharper. "You're right to tell me. We can't just run to Jack yelling about this without proof. You won't believe it, not without something solid. Nathan's smart, too smart. If he's already 2 steps ahead, then we need to be 3. Ty's shoulders sank, relief and dread mixing together. He wasn't alone anymore, but speaking the truth made the danger real in a way silence never did. "So what do we do?" he asked. Caleb's eyes narrowed, a fire lighting behind them. "We watch him. We catch him. If he's plotting against Heartland, then we'll be there when he slips. When he does, Jack will see the truth for himself." The roping horse tossed its head, restless, and the night seemed to lean in close, around them. Ty nodded, his chest tight but steady. The secret was no longer his alone, and that gave him strength. Still, he knew what Caleb didn't. Yet Nathan wasn't just greedy. He was dangerous. Once Nathan realized someone was onto him, the real fight would begin. The barn lantern flickered as though it sensed the storm brewing between Ty and Caleb. The smell of dust and leather clung to the air, and every shadow seemed alive with questions. Caleb leaned his back against a post, folding his arms, his voice measured but strong. "If what you're saying is true, then Nathan isn't just a problem, he's a threat. And threats don't go away on their own." Ty pressed his palms into his thighs, leaning forward, the weight of the truth still heavy. "I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. But every sign points the same way, Caleb. Nathan's playing a long game, and Heartland's the prize." Caleb tilted his head, his eyes narrowing like a man measuring the distance before a jump. Then we make a stand. Not loud, not reckless, but together. You and me will stay ahead of him. You pushed off the post, stepping closer until the dim light cut sharp lines across his face. You've got my word, Ty. I won't let Nathan or anyone else tear this place apart, not while I'm still breathing. The words hit Ty harder than he expected. He had carried his fear alone for too long, and now it felt shared, spread between two shoulders instead of one. He nodded, a small motion but filled with resolve. Then we keep it between us. No one else, not yet. Amy doesn't need the weight of this. Neither does Jack. If they knew, it would only divide the family. Nathan would use that. Caleb's jaw tightened, but he agreed with a grave nod. We watch. We gather what we can. And when the time comes, we put Nathan in a corner he can't crawl out of. But until then, not a word to anyone. We can't risk tipping him off. For the first time that night, a thin sense of control returned. To Ty, the fear was still there, but it no longer ruled him. He straightened, looking Caleb in the eye. We move careful, move smart, but we move. Agreed. Caleb held out his hand, not casual, not playful, but like a soldier sealing an oath. Ty looked at it for only a second before gripping it firmly. Their hands rough with work, but steady with promise. The pact was made. Two men bound not by blood, but by loyalty deeper than words. Whatever Nathan planned, whatever darkness he carried, Ty and Caleb had drawn their line. And now there was no going back. The horse in the stall snorted, stamping its hoof as if it sensed the shift. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote cried, the sound sharp against the stillness. Ty released Caleb's hand and glanced toward the dark edges of the yard. The night no longer felt empty. It felt like a stage where unseen eyes were watching, waiting. Caleb followed his gaze. You feel that? He asked, voice low. Ty nodded. Yeah, it's like he already knows. Asterisk, the pact between Ty and Caleb hung in the air like smoke that would not clear. Both men went their separate ways for the night, but sleep did not come easy. For Ty, the hours crawled by in restless turns. His mind circling the same questions: how much did Nathan already know, and how soon would he make his next move? For Caleb, the silence of his bunkhouse felt heavier than usual. Every creak of wood a reminder that danger was no longer some far-off storm, but something creeping closer with each passing breath. By morning, Heartland looked the same on the surface, the sun spilling over the hills, horses moving calm in the pasture. Amy's laughter floating across the yard as she guided Lindy toward Spartan. But beneath the surface, a current ran wild. Ty stood by the fence, watching Nathan from a distance. Nathan carried himself like a man who belonged, greeting Jack with a firm handshake, handing Lou a folder as if he had every right to manage their world. His smile stretched wide, warm enough to fool anyone who didn't know better. Caleb joined Ty at the fence, his jaw set, his hat tilted low against the sun. He's slick, Caleb muttered, his voice like gravel. Knows how to work a crowd. Jack can't even see the strings he's pulling. Ty's eyes narrowed. That's the danger. He makes himself look like family. But he's setting the trap right under our feet. Nathan glanced their way then, his gaze lingering for a second too long before he turned back with that same easy grin. The look was sharp enough to cut, and Ty felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. Caleb let out a slow breath. He knows something, maybe not everything, but he feels it. We've got to be careful. The day dragged forward, each moment tight with unease. Ty caught Nathan near the office again, sliding papers into his bag before Jack returned. Caleb noticed him heading toward the far fence line with the stranger's truck waiting just beyond the trees. Every sighting only added fuel to the fire growing between them. That evening, Ty and Caleb regrouped in the barn, away from watchful eyes. The lantern light painted them in shadows, their voices low but fierce. He's moving fast, Ty said, gripping the edge of a stall. If we don't act soon, he'll have what he needs. And once Jack signs something, Caleb cut in, his tone sharp. Then we act before he gets the chance. Confront him face to face. Not in front of Jack, not in front of Amy, just us. Let's make it clear. We see through his game. Ty shook his head, tension sparking between them. Too risky. If we corner him without proof, he'll twist it around. He's good at that. He'll turn it back on us. Make Jack think we're the ones stirring trouble. Caleb stepped forward, eyes blazing. So what? We just sit and watch while he steals the ground out from under us? Ty, sometimes you've got to push before you're ready, or you'll never get the chance at all. Their voices rose, the air between them charged. For a moment, the bond they had forged the night before threatened to crack. But then, as if sensing their clash, Spartan let out a sharp whinny from his stall, the sound cutting through the tension like lightning. The two men fell silent, their breathing heavy. Ty lowered his voice, calmer now, but no less fierce. Need to be smart. If Nathan's as dangerous as I think he is, then one wrong move won't just put us at risk. It'll put everyone we care about in the line of fire. Caleb's jaw worked as he swallowed his anger, then nodded slowly. We wait, but not for long. The next time he slips, we pounce together. Their eyes met, the fire still burning, but aligned once more. The confrontation hadn't happened yet, but it loomed closer with every step Nathan took. And both men knew when it came, it wouldn't just be words at stake. It would be Heartland itself. Asterisk the next morning, the yard carried a strange quiet that Ty couldn't shake. Horses moved lazily in the paddock, chickens scratched at the dirt, and yet the whole ranch felt like it was holding its breath. Nathan was nowhere to be seen at first, which should have been a relief. But Ty had learned the hard way that silence was never safety, it was preparation. By mid-afternoon, Nathan reappeared, striding across the yard with a stack of papers tucked neatly under his arm. He wore that same polished smile, the kind that could fool anyone who wanted to believe in it. But Ty noticed the way Nathan's eyes flicked toward him and Caleb, lingering for a heartbeat too long. There was no warmth there, only calculation. Lou came out of the house, surprised but grateful to see Nathan. He handed her the papers, speaking smooth and fast about streamlining operations and securing Heartland's future. Lou's brows furrowed, but she nodded along, distracted by the surface logic of his pitch. From where Ty stood, it looked flawless, every word sharpened, to win trust without leaving cracks to question. Caleb leaned against the fence beside Ty, his jaw tight. He's planting seeds, he muttered, making himself look like the one with all the answers. Ty's chest ached with frustration. He wanted to march over, rip those papers out of Lou's hands, and expose Nathan for what he was. But Nathan's timing was perfect. Jack stepped out of the barn just then, smiling, tipping his hat in greeting. Nathan greeted him like an old friend, papers still in hand. To the family, it looked like business as usual. To Ty, it felt like a trap closing. That evening, the damage deepened. Nathan cornered Jack in the living room, speaking in low tones. Ty lingered in the hallway, listening. Nathan wasn't talking about land surveys or papers anymore. He was talking about trust, about how he worried Ty and Caleb were overstepping. He suggested they might be stirring problems behind the scenes, out of concern but without understanding. His voice dripped with false sincerity, every word designed to raise just enough doubt. Jack didn't answer right away, but Ty could see the flicker of unease in his eyes. It was small, but it was there, and that was enough for Nathan. He smiled, clapped Jack on the shoulder, and left the room with the air of a man who had just won a point in a match only he knew he was playing. Later, when Jack went out to check the stock, Caleb stormed into the barn where Ty was working. "He's turning this on us," Caleb said, his voice rough with anger. I heard him too, whispering about how we're acting strange, how we're not focused on the ranch. If Jack starts to believe him, Ty cut him off, his own voice sharp. That's his plan. It's not just going after the land. He's going after trust. If he can make us look like the problem, then no one will believe us when we finally bring the truth forward. Caleb paced, fists clenching. So what do we do? Sit here while he poisons the well? Ty looked past Caleb, out into the fading light where Nathan's figure moved across the yard. The man looked right at him this time, his smile thin, like a warning. Ty's stomach turned cold, but his resolve hardened. We don't back down. He wants to paint us as the villains. Then we make sure the truth is so clear, it drowns out every lie he spreads." The barn went quiet except for the sound of horses shifting in their stalls. For the first time, Ty felt the weight of just how dangerous Nathan truly was. He wasn't only clever, he was ruthless. And now, the fight wasn't waiting for them anymore. It had already begun. The night had dropped over Heartland like a heavy curtain. Thin mist clung to the fields, and the usual calm of the ranch felt broken, like something had been shifted out of place. Ty and Caleb sat in the dim barn, the lantern light throwing long shadows across the wood. Both men were tired, but too wired to rest. Every word Nathan had spun that day still rang in their ears. Caleb rubbed his hands together, his voice low. "He's faster than we thought. We wait too long, and he'll turn everyone against us." Ty leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes sharp. "Then tomorrow we start watching closer. We catch him in the act. One slip, and we'll have him. Proof strong enough that even Nathan's lies won't cover it." Caleb nodded, but before either of them could say more, a sound echoed through the barn, a creak of wood, faint but distinct. "Ah!" Both men froze. Ty rose slowly, scanning the shadows between the stalls. The horses stirred uneasily, their hooves shifting on the dirt. Then a figure stepped forward from the dark. Nathan. He wasn't smiling this time. His face was cool, steady, and his voice carried an edge sharp enough to cut. "Long night, boys?" he asked, his gaze sliding from Ty to Caleb. "Seems like you've both been awfully busy lately. Whispering in corners, watching me like I'm some kind of enemy." Caleb straightened, fists tight at his sides, but Ty held up a hand, keeping him still. "What do you want, Nathan?" Ty asked, his tone flat. Nathan tilted his head, stepping closer into the lantern glow. "What I've always wanted, a future. Control. And if you're smart, you'll stop trying to stand in my way." He leaned in just enough for the threat to settle between them, because once a man starts digging too deep, he often finds more than he bargained for. The silence that followed was crushing. The horses shifted again, restless. Nathan gave a final glance, then turned and walked out, his boots echoing against the dirt floor until they faded into the night. Ty and Caleb stood frozen, their hearts pounding. Nathan wasn't just ahead of them, he knew. He had heard their whispers, felt their watchful eyes, and now he wasn't hiding anymore. The game had shifted. Ty exhaled, a long, hard breath. "He's onto us," he said, voice heavy with certainty. Caleb's eyes burned with fire. "Then it's war." The barn door rattled shut in the distance, the sound carrying like a warning. And in that moment, Ty knew the fight for Heartland had only just begun.